Welcome to This Week in West Hempstead, sponsored this week by Stern & Spiegel LLP, 516-873-1683. Let us solve your problems. And by Tiffany Dry Cleaners, environmentally safe. Pickup and delivery in West Hempstead and surrounding communities, 718-309-5222. And by your friends at I&D Glock Market on Hempstead Avenue. Come in for all your shopping needs. Here are your hosts, David and Norm. Take it away, gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Dan and Norm and Adam.
Hi, guys.
Glad you could all be with us today. Got a lot to cover, so let's just dive in. No pun intended. Finally, we see the pools opening. I mean, wow. It's the first time I passed by, I had to do a double take. I didn't believe it.
And it's beautiful.
And I hear it's unbelievable. I haven't actually been there ourselves. I know you, Adam, have been there.
Great to be back in the pool. I went on Wednesday, I went this morning, and I must say the place looks fabulous. The pool itself looks fabulous. The pool itself feels cleaner. Hope it stays that way. The rest of the facility, the locker room's still gross, but the pools, they did a really nice job. You can see the ceiling, and I hope it lasts because I know that about 5 years ago they did a big renovation, and then they had to do it over again. So I hope this time we're not going to see in another 5 years that they have to do it. But I must say right now the pool is great. It's great to be back in the water, and they have, for some reason, they have TVs on the wall so you can watch Jeopardy while you're swimming. I don't know why we need TVs in the pool, but it's there. But
it is open, so hell has not actually frozen
I think
over.
they're going to use that for signage for Clavin, because first thing you saw when the pool was open is these huge blue banners, on the outside. So maybe this is just another opportunity to say vote for Clavin.
Yeah, which is great because we couldn't find him at all when we were trying to get in.
Oh, he was there for the photo op when this thing was all done.
He says he visited also, but we never saw any press ops, photo ops during the construction.
I understand, Adam. There's some wrinkles in it.
Well, first of all, I must say also that it's great that the sauna, the steam room, and the gym, for the first time in almost 4 years since closing in early 2020 because of COVID, it's the first time those are back in order. It's great to see that again, go back into that. But here comes the bad part, which is the whopping price tag, which is for families and individual, a huge increase. If you were a family before, the last price was $372, it's now gone up to $655, which is a 76% increase. An individual rate, and this is for in-residents only, we're not concerned with the out-of-towners, but $327 up from $195, it's 67% increase, which is really very steep. You have to also think a lot of the people who are coming are middle-class people who don't have their own pools. That's a very big hit for them, and it's basically paying, you have to figure it's paying for a large share of the renovation with those fees. But in fairness, I will say this, they're letting people right now, if you are a card holder, you can join now and not have to pay until the end of next year. So you will get an extra almost 2.5 months for free. So that's a little bit of more of a value. But otherwise, that's a very sharp increase.
Wow. I think the only thing you can do really is to buy an annual ticket. That comes into less than $1 a day for swimming
that is the
for an
annual
individual.
ticket. The annual ticket is $655 for the family and $325 for the individual. If you pay daily, the cost went up only $1 from $8 to $9. But if you're like a 3-time-a-week swimmer like me, then that really adds up. It does not pay to pay daily. You're right, the yearly or the half-yearly pass makes more sense.
Right, but when you think about it, we've already paid for this pool. We pay our taxes every day.
Okay, so that's the same argument.
But what else do you know that goes up 76%? I mean, that's
sort of the same argument for toll booths, which were put up in during the Depression and supposed to be paid for 100 years ago, but they're still here.
And in the meantime, by the way, the roads and bridges that you're paying for are in god-awful shape. So.
Well, that's besides the point. You know what? I got to tell you, I have a slightly contrary position to this, and I'll just throw it out there, which is the price increases don't bother me. If you go to the pool during the summer, there's way too many people there because it's welcome and open to all the town of Hempstead. The fact that maybe it'll be a little bit curtailed as far as people go, I'm not so upset about it, especially during the summertime.
If the revenue is down, that means an only bigger increase for the following year.
And I understand. And again, it's for the average person and for everyone, it's not a good thing. But at the end of the day, when you try to go for a quick swim during the summertime and you find you just can't even get in, not so good.
I think the reality is the town's broke. They don't have enough money. They're dipping into their reserves for funding.
Oh, tell us more.
So clearly they need the money. money?
So the Hempstead budget was passed, but the whole budget was $522 million, of which they dipped in, I think, $40 million into the reserve. So listen. The government is a printing press. We can have a whole discussion here. It's going to take forever, but at the end of the day, they have the reserve fund. They're going to screw us over with the residential taxes at some point, one way or another, to figure out how to pay for it. I don't know what to make of this.
But at least they took the Capri Motel off the tax rolls, so we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we going to do with all that extra tax income?
I'm sure another business 4 or 5 years from now will open up on that spot and fill up the coffers again.
No worries.
Yeah, and you know what? It's an election year. I think the current administration is very concerned about, holding the tax line and keeping things frozen where they are. So they're dipping into the reserve fund. Now, is this any different than what the school board is doing? We'll save that for yet another, for another time. But, sometimes it's good to have a reserve fund. Community on edge. The situation that's going on in Israel certainly hasn't gotten any better. The community is having an outpouring of volunteers and those who are willing to help in any way possible. We're seeing responses from all over, including a pretty, interesting sign that was on the Trinity Church that, talked about supporting Israel. So, it's support's coming from all over.
We have a lot of people who have family there. We have people who are studying there for the year. We have people who are really worried, seriously worried about the welfare and where this is going to
Parents of
go.
soldiers.
Nobody knows where it's going from here, and I think that's what makes it's the uncertainty that makes it even worse.
And listen, my daughter just went back this week. I mean, that's her home. That's where she lives. I'm worried, but the truth is I'm worried about anybody here in the United States, given what's going on in Times Square and all sorts of other places.
Yeah.
The other thing to understand is there's a lot of parents of kids who are serving in the forces over there, and kids we watch grow up in synagogue, and it's nerve-wracking all around town.
Absolutely. I mean, we can see the visible signs everywhere. We saw it last weekend with the extra police that was provided by the Nassau County Police Department, and we thank them for providing us with that extra support. It's unfair that in these times, if someone just wants to go to a religious institution, they have to go through layers of security here in the U.S. to get there. But unfortunately, that's the world
that's our new reality.
Yep. So on that depressing note, I think we'll take a brief break for a commercial from one of our sponsors.
All right.
Tiffany Dry Cleaner is ready to handle all your cleaning, laundering, and dry cleaning needs. We offer free pickup and delivery Sunday to Friday in all communities. Give us a shot.
Okay, we're back.
We're back, and I wish I could say that the Woodfield light that we've been waiting for, seems like forever, would be lit up already. But as usual, they're going at a snail's pace. One week they put it up, then they put the light up. The next week they're painting the signs. The next week they're going to have one technician flip one switch, and then maybe next week they'll have another technician flipping another switch. Who knows what's going on?
I think they're looking for an extension cord. I can't explain it. The light's hanging there.
Or a light bulb.
Turn it on!
Yeah.
Maybe there's a squirrel on a generator running.
It's really unbelievable, and maybe this is just typical for turning on a light. It's just that, we're so focused on this one particular light.
There is some programming that goes on in order to synchronize the lights. So maybe that's what it's all about. But still, it's been enough time already. Guys, get it going. Yeah.
And this past Sunday, we had a Halls Pond cleanup that was sponsored by the Civic Association. And, it looked like it was very well attended. There were some pictures up on westhempsteadecho.com. And it's really great to see people of all ages chipping in and cleaning up.
Yeah, it looks great. It does look great.
Yeah, it'll look great for like a day, and then the next time someone goes speeding down Nassau Boulevard and they decide to throw their bag of garbage out while they're going at 80 miles an hour, it's just going to go back to where it was before.
That's the positive attitude we look for around here.
It's unbelievable.
Well, now that the pool's full, what do you want from him?
Exactly.
You know what? We could really focus our attention on Holes Pond, and you know
It could use some attention.
it could really use attention. And speaking of attention, you know, the good news about the West Hempstead football team, the high school
Rams.
football teams, the Rams, is that they didn't play last week. So you know,
So they still have a winning.
No. They have a winning streak of one game.
One game, right.
Their record is still 1-4, and although this weekend they're playing Carl Place, so we're hoping that they can advance to 2-4. But you know, perhaps that's wishful thinking. Who knows? But we're always rooting for the Rams, no matter what.
They're still ahead of the Giants right now, aren't they? Or,
They're tied, but you know, who's counting? Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this week in West Hempstead. I want to thank you, Norm. I want to thank you, Adam. I want to
See
thank
you guys
you,
at the
Dan.
pool.
And you know, come by and check us out at the pool. We'll be wearing our Echo hat at the Echo pool, and
Bathing suits.
have a great week.
Take care.
Yes, that is in fact true. There will not be any Echo Speedos. However, if you'd like to sponsor our program, much like I&D, Stern and Spiegel, or Tiffany Dry Cleaners, please reach out to us at sales@westhempsteadecho.com.